Alright, it feels pretty good outside, so I'm out here. Got my tactical folding chairs, my child correctional tool, my water squirter. The kids are out here swinging on their tactical swings. Everything's got to be tactical. Alright, playbooks. Playbooks. Your plans, and including others in your plans, and people who know you, family, friends. I don't know what got me thinking about playbooks. Something kind of brought my attention to playbooks, and I was talking with there's a friend of mine that works with the FBI, and he was telling me sometimes when they go into cases and solving crimes, it was interesting, the stuff that I've learned from him. You know, the stuff that he's told me is just crazy train. You wouldn't have thunk some of the stuff and how they deal with their cases, how they deal with dog. You just go ahead and whiz right on the camera, buddy. Go. He just is that okay to show people my dog just took a leak? Anyway, at least I'm not yelling at him. Dog, get over here, dog. Get over here now. He's pretty good about just chilling when we're outside. He watches over the kids pretty good. So playbooks and stuff, and he was telling me about training, and he used to work force recon. He was force recon before, and he said, you know, training and combat, and you know, we sit and talked about how how Marines didn't, you know, they were not supposed to go through. We were talking about poppy fields and stuff like that, out and, you know, walking through them and trucking through them. Those are places that they didn't have mines, you know, to avoid accidental detonation and getting yourself blown up. They would go through the poppy fields and stuff like that. Crazy stories, man. Some of the stuff he would tell me about that they dealt with, you know, as a, you know, small reconnaissance team would deal with. Good stuff. It's good information. But the thing he was telling me about, you know, in combat and training, he one thing that was hard for him when he went in to become an agent and work for the agency, he was rules of engagement were totally different. You know, you're talking rules of engagement where, you know, for military, rules of engagement is, you know, if someone is shooting at you, then by all means necessary, right? And we were talking about Geneva Convention, so many other things. Rules of engagement in combat and rules of engagement on the streets as a FBI agent, and how that is so much different. Because if Billy, say Billy's the criminal, right? Let's just pretend Billy's the criminal. I got the sun right in my face. Here, let me move over a little bit so you guys don't have the sun right in my face there. There we go. Okay, I guess it's a little bit better. There we go. All right, so rules of engagement, right? And for them, you know, dealing with, you know, common criminals or non-common criminals, just criminals in general. If Billy said criminal has a gun, for that matter, a gun, it's different. And you shoot them, right? That's rules of engagement for them. He was telling me it was so hard for him to get used to that, because just because a combative on a battlefield, you know, someone's on the battlefield and has a rifle or pistol, that doesn't classify the right to shoot them, right? Rules of engagement were totally different. Now, here, you know, on the streets, dealing with conflict, if they've got a gun, you've got every right, because it's still a threat, even if it's at their side and if they're armed. he was telling me cases where a vehicle is stopped. A vehicle stopped. Say they're in a police chase with a gal. Let's come up with a gal. It's a girl. We'll make a girl criminal now. Her name's Janet or something, right? She's on the run, you know, or Jenny. Jenny's got a gun. Anyway, so Jenny's on the run, right? And he pulls. The kid's just spinning. All right, so Jenny's on the run, right? And they're in a high-speed police chase or whatever, or a standard traffic stop. But in the traffic stop, at some point, you know, girl gets out of the car and she's packing heat. She's got something. She's got a pistol in her waistband, and they know it. They saw the pistol in the waistband, and she decides to flee and run. Rules of engagement are totally different for that one too. I was thinking, you know, he said, how do you think we deal with that situation? Jenny took off running, and she's running through the woods. She's just fled through the mountainside, right? And she's running through the woods right now. How do we deal with that situation? When we go in pursuit of that, she could tactically take cover behind a tree and then start firing. She could be waiting to get to a safe location to set up and start shooting at you. So rules of engagement for that is Jenny's got a gun, so they deal with it as such. It doesn't matter if she's drawing it and if it's in her waistband or what, they shoot to kill. So I was telling them that, you know, it's funny you're telling me all this, because it seems like there should be some sort of playbook for criminals. So in the event that they get in a situation like that, they know they're going to get shot if they run. And there's this common misconception, right? When people watch too much TV. This goes back into TV. He brought that up himself. You know, people watch too much TV and they think that that's the way it's going to play out. You know, they're going to give them a chance, right? They're going to talk them down. Hey, you got so much to live for, man. But it doesn't work out like that. That's not how any of that stuff works, right? We got to talking about playbooks and knowing the mind of a criminal and what they're gonna do next. And I told you that to tell you this. When it comes to playbooks, you don't know the playbook of the government, right? You don't know what any of them are going to do. You would assume that when they're in training, they're training for this peaceful thing, something peaceful. But not all training is going to be peaceful like that. And when their training kicks in, watching too much television could get your butt killed. And even though you're trying to do good, even though you're not a criminal, and in a situation where you do have a firearm or something like that, you got to think about these things, these playbook rules and stuff. True, you ain't right. She's just being silly. But these playbook rules, you also got to think about family members knowing what your plans are as well. You got to think about all this stuff. And it's kind of like when I was telling you about food preps and food storage and storing stuff up, and you know, the family that takes the minivan, goes to the store, spends another $100 that month on extra food storage, does it all at once, one stop. They go in and get tons of tuna and all this stuff, right? And they bring it in the back of their minivan. They would do it at night, right? You know, under, you know, low key. Not everybody knows what they're doing. Like, geez, man, how many platters of tuna did you get? Something like that. How many cases did you buy? Cases of canned foods. What are they getting ready for? That nobody eats that much chili, right? And you eat that much chili in a month. See what I mean? So it might be one of these situations. Don't you squirt me? One of these. I'm waiting for her to do something. These kids love to mess with me when I'm not looking. It's tons of fun. Tons of fun. But playbooks. They pull in the middle of the night and they start unloading, right? They start unloading their stuff so nobody can see them. They're under the veil of the under the veil of the night, they do this stuff. Because they don't want the neighbors and everybody else knowing their business and knowing what they're doing. They don't want them knowing their playbook. And this goes into family members, disgruntled family members, people who don't like you, friends, you know, disturbing people. They know you know a guy named Jimmy that lives down south, and you're going to go there in your vehicle when all hell breaks loose, and you're going to load up your stuff. They know where you're headed, and they know where you're going, and they know Jimmy's unprepared. But you're prepared, and you're going to go be with Jimmy. You know, they might show up at Jimmy's place because they know that's where you moved all your stuff to. Because they might stop at your previous location, or they know your BOL. They know what your bug out location is, and because they know you, they know your playbook. So you want to play plays that are not in the playbook. They want to play something different. Take note of that. Play plays that are not in the playbook. Do something different, because if someone gets your playbook and they know what you're going to be doing, see what I mean? Because I don't want people showing up. I don't want people showing up without any skills that don't. You know, I don't mind helping people, but you know, this goes into, I've got so many mouths to feed, and as I start giving stuff away, I start running out of food for my family. And when it comes to doing work and labor, you know, just cutting firewood or something simple, or the person who just does all the little things, all those little things that make life happen, and somebody shows up and they can't do anything, it's not going to be beneficial or helpful, and your chances of survival drop drastically, because you deal with somebody else who, just because they knew what your playbook would be, they knew where you were headed, they knew where you were going, and it's good to mix stuff up. So you got to be a little secretive sometimes and not tell everyone all of your plays, because it could, you know, it could help with your chances of survival for your family. I guess that's really all I've got on that. But it is good to mix stuff up, and this, you know, with communities and people, I got a big heart, you know. I let everybody in if I could, but in some cases you can't tell everybody everything. You know, you can do, people tell me it's like, you know, that's because of this or that, but people would think that they know everything about me just from watching the channel when they don't. Keep that in mind. I got a big heart. I let a lot of people in, but if it affects our ability to keep going, and some people are going to have to get cut off of that, right? That's why people need to prepare for themselves. So anyways, I just wanted to share these interesting things that I learned throughout the day from other people, and this is just me chatting with somebody else, and it turned into this conversation, so I figured I would share this. I figured I would share today. This is me sharing. Alright, God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. We love you.